Good evening. I'd like to call this Board of Supervisors meeting to order. If we could all rise and pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Corporal, roll call.
Mr. Tosti.
Here.
Mr. Kizak.
Here.
Ms. Strauss.
Here.
Ms. Payne.
Here.
We also have in attendance Township Manager, Mrs. Cooley-Tools, and Township Solicitor, Mr. Esposito, sorry. And I think that's it, correct? That's all, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Corporal. All right, on the announcements, the next Board of Supervisors meeting will be the reorganization scheduled for Monday, January 3rd, 2022 at 7 p.m. right here in the hall. And then I also just got a flyer for those who are looking to get the COVID shot or the booster shot. They're having walk-ups at the Neshaminy Mall between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. and it's in the old H&M store right there near the food court. So with that, we'll move on to number 3, public comment on non-agenda items only. Non-agenda items only. Please state your name and your address.
Elaine Miles, 217 Stony Brook Court. I have to say I really like this because you can say what's going on in the area.
Can you speak into the mic? I can't.
No, I said I have come to like these meetings because I can just say what I'm noticing in the area and bring it here. The light at the bypass and 413 is shortened now to like 30 seconds. When you're going north on 413, you're crossing over the bypass, the light is like less than 30 seconds. 2 cars can get across the bypass and then it turns red.
We can look into that.
Yeah, I think it's dangerous.
Best thing to do when you notice something like that is call us right away.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Just state your name and your address, please.
Cheryl Jones, 407 Parkview Avenue, Langhorne Gables. I'm here to talk about the stop signs that are going in. I had no idea they were being approved. People had told me. The one that's coming off of Buttonwood, it's the only one that, every road that cuts into Parkview, not one of them has a stop sign. To put the one at Parkview puts it at the end of my sidewalk from my house, and I can't, how am I going to park at a stop sign all the time? That's where I park. And everybody parks that comes to my house. There's actually 8 roads, and none of them have stop signs coming out to Parkview. We need more on Parkview to stop the cars from going fast, but none of them going onto Parkview have a stop sign. But I won't be able to park at my house.
Why won't you be able to park?
Coming down my walkway, when I get to my walk, I park right there. I'm like maybe 10, 11 feet from where you're going to put the stop sign. So I'll be parked at the stop sign all the time. Now, when I called and talked to, I guess it was Nick, he had said that they're not changing the parking ordinance, that I could continue to park there.
That's what I was thinking, that like there's nothing that says you couldn't park there just because there's a
Well, it's illegal to park at a stop sign. My daughter's a cop, and that she says that I would need to get a confirmation that any guest at my residence or I wouldn't be ticketed for parking out in front of the house.
You would need a what?
Just confirmation that I won't get a ticket, because you can't park at a stop sign. You have to be 30 feet away.
The chief's not here, so we can check with the chief on that, and maybe if you leave your name with Ms. Teoly-Coles or with Mr. Valla, we can check into that. We'll ask the chief about that, about your parking there by the stop sign.
Yeah, well, did they even do a study to find out?
We have a traffic commission, and the traffic commission did do it, and then the police department actually is on the part of the traffic commission, and they do go by there and they check the sites.
They only think one stop sign is needed out of all 8 roads coming across. The only one is Buttonwood that needs it.
It's going into a 3-way stop sign.
Yeah, so if I may, the reason why that stop sign specifically was put in, as you know, there was one stop sign on Parkview going one direction, but not the opposing direction. And as we were
And I understand that one.
Right. And according to the Pennsylvania Motor Vehicle Code, for when you're approaching an intersection, that's not typically how traffic control with stop signs should be done. And so when our police department noticed that, it was at that time they made the recommendation that that intersection be updated to be an always stop.
Okay, well, there's actually, if you go down Willow, there's a stop sign there, but there's not stop sign in either of the other directions on Longview. And it's the same thing on Adams and on Buttonwood, at the bottom of Buttonwood. There's no stop sign on either side to stop them at the bottom.
Right, so typically the through street, so in this case, it's Parkview is the through street, would be stopped second, or is the second priority to have a stop sign. So in the case of this intersection, Buttonwood would almost always have the stop sign normally and not the through street of Parkview. But since there was already one on one direction of Parkview, that's why the police department had the recommendation to do an all-way stop. And so Adams and some of the others that you mentioned are through streets, which is why you typically don't see stop signs there.
All right, we have a lot of stop signs on Longview, which is a through street. But there's not at the end. Like Willard has one. Linden doesn't have one at either end, Parkview or Longview. Neither does Elm, Lime. Adams doesn't have one on Parkview. Cypress doesn't have it at either end. I don't understand why we're just putting one in at Buttonwood. I think that needs to be reconsidered.
Longview has a few going along Longview.
They do, long
Not a
ways.
lot, but they do have a few.
Yes.
That, just to keep traffic slower, I was assuming, because if you leave it without stop signs, people will be flying down that
That's
road.
what we need more on Parkview, but not on the side roads.
But this has already been done and handled.
I had no idea it was even there.
All I can do is we can check with the chief, and like I said, if you leave your name and your phone number with either Mr. Vallow or Ms. Teoly Coles, we can check with the chief to see if they will ticket you, like you said, your daughter's.
Yeah, because I work until 11 or 1 o'clock in the morning, and I don't want to have to park down the road.
Yeah, we understand.
Okay.
Let us check. Just leave your number with Ms. Teoly Coles or with Mr. Vallow, and we'll check.
Okay.
And I do also want to mention Mr. Gartenmeyer, our Public Works Director, is not here today. I did share Ms. Jones' information with him about when they're actually going to put out the stop sign and install it at that intersection, and so they will be in contact with you later this week.
Yeah, but if you move it down to the actual corner, the people are going to be in the road before they even have to stop. They're going to be in the middle of Parkview coming down the road.
Sure, and that's why they wanted to confer with you before they do that.
Yeah, they just need more on Parkview to slow them down. The side roads, I can see you're doing all the side roads, but one side road, I don't get.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other public comment on non-agenda items? Mr. Miller.
Good evening. I would just like to say thank you to you, Tom, and you, Amy, for the 6 years that you provided service to our community. You did a fantastic job, and I just want to applaud you guys before you're finished with your term, and thanks again. Really appreciate everything.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any other public comment on non-agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda items. Consideration of authorizing payment of December 20th, 2021 bills list in the amount of $861,169.03. Consideration of approving the December 6, 2021 minutes of the public meeting of the Middletown Township Board of Supervisors. Letter C, consideration of payment certificate number 9 for the Langhorne Gables Drainage Improvement Project in the amount of $110,445.02. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda items?
I make a motion to accept all consent items as written.
Second.
Seeing a motion and a second, is there any questions on the agenda or on the consent items? Any questions from the public? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 5-0. Number 5, consideration of approving the opioid lawsuit participation agreement. Mr. Esposito.
Thank you, Mr. Tosti. So as you're aware, the Middletown Township joined in litigation with other municipalities a few years ago against pharmaceutical companies for damages related to the opioid crisis. If you recall, in July, the state, along with the many other states, settled the litigation, and Pennsylvania is expected to get a little over $1 billion that'll be paid out over the next 18 years. Over the past few months since that settlement was entered, the attorneys for all of the litigating subdivisions, including Middletown Township, has been negotiating with the Attorney General's office about how those funds would be allocated throughout the state. So what you have in front of you is a trust and allocation order and 3 participation forms that describe how the funds will be allocated. So essentially, this would have 15% of the settlement funds staying with the state, 70% of the settlement funds would go to the counties throughout the state, and then 15% would be going to the litigating subdivisions, including Middletown Township. And the way that the money will be distributed amongst the litigating subdivisions will be based on the population size. So for municipalities with a population between 10,000 and 50,000, which includes Middletown, the minimum amount expected to be received would be $250,000. Now, that is subject to everybody entering into this participation agreement. If not every political subdivision enters into it, some of the money will get reduced, but it is expected that most will enter, so that is the expected amount. Even though it will be distributed over the next 18 years, it is expected that 20% will be received next year. That is not a guarantee, but I did speak with our opioid litigation counsel, and that is what most they are expecting it to happen. After review of the forms, our opioid counsel did recommend that Middletown enter into these participation agreements.
Okay.
And it is required to send this in by January 2nd. That's
Right.
why that's why we had to put it on the agenda for tonight, is because it is required to be submitted by then. And if we don't
I was gonna mention
participate,
that.
yes, and if we don't participate, we could not get anything from it.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Esposito?
Do we know how many litigating subdivisions there are that we need to approve?
I don't know exactly how many, but there are a decent amount. I know within Pennsylvania, within just Bucks County, I know Newtown was involved, and Salem was involved, and we were involved. And then all the other counties, I mean, Allegheny County was involved, Philadelphia, City of Philadelphia was involved, and they're obviously the two biggest ones that need to participate.
And then my only other question is are there restrictions on how the funds can be
Yes.
utilized?
So attached to the trust order is a list of the approved uses of the funds. It pretty much has to go towards opioid abatement uses. And there will be a trust set up that the municipality will have to send a certification to every year about how the funds will be used, and they will police basically how the funds are used, and will be giving the money to the townships each year.
Any other questions for Mr. Esposito? I'll make a motion for Middletown Township to participate in the proposed opioid litigation settlement and authorize the township manager to complete and execute the Pennsylvania Interstate Allocation Participation Form, the Jensen Settlement Participation Form, and the Distributor Settlement Participation Form, and forward such forms to the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seeing a motion and a second, is there any board questions? Any public questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it, 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Esposito. Number 6, consideration of enacting ordinance number 21-09 age-qualified overlay. I would like to make a motion to continue this until the January 18, 2022 Board of Supervisors meeting.
Second.
Seeing a motion and a second, is there any board questions? Any public questions?
I just had a comment. Lisa Reiser.
Can you state your name and your address for the record, please?
Lisa Reiser, 411 Country Lane Circle. I noticed a little sign that was put up at Doublewoods and Ellis Road about notification of this meeting, that it was going to be considered. And I'm just hoping that for the January 20th, 18th?
22nd.
22nd.
Oh, January 18th, sorry.
January 18th.
What's the date?
January 18th.
Okay. So for the January 18th, is the community going to be notified better than a tiny little sign that you can't read standing right in front of it?
That you can't read what?
Standing right in front of the sign, I was not able to read the tiny print. So having the sign there as a public notice to the community, it's not an effective means of communication. So I hope that for the next meeting, the community will be notified more effectively.
So we're notifying them now that it will be taking place on January 18th. We will post it on the website and the social media, whatever else we need to do. We have reached out to the council for the Save Stowe Meadow Farms group, and they are notified that it will be taking place at that time as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on the agenda item? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it, 5-0. Number 7, resignation. Consideration of accepting the resignation of Christine Eller from the Financial Advisory Committee. I'll make a motion to accept her resignation.
Second.
Seeing a motion and a second, is there any board questions? I would just like to make a comment and thank her for the service to the township. She is moving out of the township, but she's stepping down to give the new board a chance to appoint somebody, so that was very nice of her. Seeing none from the board, is there any public questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it, 5-0. Moving on to other business. Mr. Esposito, do you have anything?
Nothing other than say happy holidays and have a happy new year.
Ms. Teoli-Coles?
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thank you, Amy and Tom, again, for all your support, and best of luck.
Mr. Kizak?
Yeah, happy holidays, happy New Year to everybody.
Ms. Strauss?
Thanks, everybody. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Ms. Quirple?
Happy New Year, happy holidays, and thank you to Tom and Amy. We'll miss you.
Ms. Payne?
On the effort of not being redundant, I will switch it up and say thank you to Tom and Amy, and then wish everyone a happy holidays and a happy New Year. But that's all.
All right, thank you. And everybody out there, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year's. I do see that the virus is starting to spike again, so please take consideration of your neighbors, your family. If you haven't got the vaccine, please get the vaccine. If you haven't got the booster, please do so. Protect yourself, protect your neighbors, protect your family. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
There's a second?
Second.
We're adjourned.